Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the championship round of the 2012 Empire City Invitational Tournament. Let's give our teams a round of applause. Representing the Plaintiff, the winners of the Dr. Glenhoven Neubauer division, we have Team Brooks. Let's give them a round of applause. And representing the Defendant, the winners of the Greg division, Team Joel. Let's give them a round of applause. And we are very, very grateful that the Honorable Harry Tillis was able to make his way from Long Island to preside over this championship round. He is an experienced judge. He judged over a dozen mock trial rounds last year at both the high school and collegiate level. And we are honored and very appreciative to have him with us today. Let's give him a round of applause. Sitting in the jury box may be some faces that you recognize. Members of the EMPTA staff. We had 29 people registered to judge this round, 29. And one showed up because of the weather. So we will have 7 members, 6 members of the EMPTA staff, as well as Mr. Clarizia, who is a former mock trial coach, who will be scoring the round today. Let's give everyone a round of applause. So these are the type of judges that you like, pure mock trialers who are going to appreciate every nuance, every case theme, every cross-examination, every little point that you make.
Counselors, good morning. Before we get to appearances, I wanted to cover a couple of preliminary matters from the bench. As all of you know, because you are all familiar faces in our courtrooms here in Midlands, there are a couple of things that judges typically like to go over. The first one is objections. Attorneys, if you can do your best when objecting, simply to say the word objection and stop. That will give me an opportunity to disengage my mind from the testimony mode that it's in and engage on an objection mode. Give me a moment to turn to you and ask the basis of your objection. I'm hopeful you can do that. I can assure you that by following that pace, that you will get better rulings from the court. Attorneys are free to move about the well as they need to. With one exception, please ask for permission before approaching the witness. And finally, if a demonstrative is used, opposing counsel should feel free to move to wherever opposing counsel needs to move in order to be best positioned to see the demonstrative, and opposing counsel may move without permission. With those 3 preliminary matters out of the way, would the plaintiffs please put their appearances on the record?
Good morning, Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. My name is Allison Malley, and today I represent the plaintiff, Joey Davis, by and through his guardian, Andy Davis. This time I'd like to introduce to you my co-counsel, Madeline Centrella.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
And Camille Weiss.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Ms. Malley, are there any preliminary matters that the plaintiff wants to cover?
Yes, Your Honor. For the convenience of the court and counsel, the plaintiff has prepared notebooks of the exhibits we will be using in trial today. May I approach counsel?
No. Everything that is in the case packet is up here on the bench already. That does not relieve either side of the responsibility of introducing evidence and or exhibits in support of its case, but the entire case packet's up here, and I want to see the lawyers try the case, not hand things to me. So I already have them, and thank you for the offer. What other preliminary matters do you want to address?
We ask that the court take judicial notice of the stipulation.
It's in the case package, there's stips, and I've got them.
Right. Well, pursuant to stipulation 3, there are no objections to plaintiff's exhibits 7, 8, 9, and 10, Joey Davis's outpatient record, his autopsy report, his emergency room report, and his toxicology screen. We ask that these exhibits be moved into evidence at this time.
Do you have the copies that you want to admit right now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Available? Please show them to defense counsel. These are going to be deemed marked plaintiffs 1 through 4 for trial. And counsel, so you know, when you publish to our jury today, we're just going to lay things right up here off of my left hand, and you should feel free when the need arises just to walk up and pick up an exhibit.
Yes, Your Honor. May I approach opposing counsel?
Please show them to the defense. Ms. Melillo, are those the 4 documents?
Yes, Your Honor.
Based on stipulation 3, which allows them to be introduced at any time and therefore not necessarily during direct or cross, and because all objections have been waived by stipulation, those 4 exhibits are accepted into evidence and should be laid up here. Ms. Malley, is there any other preliminary matter that the plaintiff wants to address?
Yes, we'd like to invoke Midland's Rule 615.
Ms. Melillo, 615.
No objection.
It's invoked. Witnesses are constructively sequestered. Anything else?
And in the interest of time, we ask that all witnesses be pre-sworn.
By rule. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Appearances for the defense, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Lena Melillo, and today I represent Happy Land Toy Company. At this time, with the court's permission, may my co-counsel please introduce themselves.
Yes, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Opposing counsel, members of the jury. Alice Lockett appearing for Happy Land Toy Company.
Good morning, Your Honor. Opposing counsel, members of the jury. Elizabeth Ryball on behalf of Happy Land Toy Company.
Ms. Melillo, are there any preliminary matters not already covered that the defense wishes to address?
Yes, Your Honor. Pursuant to Rule 615, which has already been invoked, all witnesses are constructively sequestered, however, with the exception of party representatives. So at this time, the defense would like to designate Blake Lexington as our party representative.
Is Ms. Lexington on your witness list?
She's not testifying today.
Is she on your witness list? If she's not testifying, I presume not.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she can stay.
Yes, Your Honor. And with that, the defense is ready to proceed.
Very well. Counsel, who will be delivering the opening statement for the plaintiff?
I will be, Your Honor.
Ms. Centrella?
Yes.
You may begin when you are ready. The court will hear from you by way of opening argument on behalf of the plaintiff, Joey Davis through Andy Davis. You may begin when you're ready.
Your Honor, before I proceed, may I assemble demonstratives?
Let's do that, please. Ms. Centrella, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I would like you to meet Joey Davis. Joey was an active, happy little boy. You can see the sparkle in his eyes and the spunk in his personality. But you won't be able to meet Joey in person today because Joey died on August 8th, 2009. He was only 2 years old. Joey Davis died just 2 hours after swallowing some beads made by the defendant, Happy Land Toy Company. You will learn today that Joey Davis was poisoned by a toxic chemical, Happy Land, applied to their toy beads. Now, today we have the burden of proving to you by a preponderance of the evidence, that it is more likely than not that Happy Land's toy beads caused Joey's death. We will show you today that this tragedy can be traced back to one fateful day in May of 2009. You will learn how the CEO of Happy Land Toy Company, Blake Lexington, had been given an ultimatum: develop a blockbuster new toy and make a big profit, or find a new job. Miss Lexington bet the company's future on a new toy called Princess Beads. But you will hear today that they could not figure out how to make this toy safe enough or cheap enough. On that day in May of 2009, Happyland's team suggested a new chemical to be used on the princess beads called 1,4-butanediol. But you will hear how in an email to Miss Lexington, discovered by undercover journalist Tristan Frost, will show you that Miss Lexington knew that this chemical could be poisonous. That same day, only 9 hours later, Miss Lexington gave the green light to those princess beads. But before doing so, Miss Lexington buried that warning. Buried it by deleting this bullet point in an email to the Princess Beads project leader. Now, because she buried that warning, this mother had to bury her son. Now, Dr. Chase Touchemont, a clinical toxicologist, treated Joey in the emergency room on the day he died. And Dr. Touchemont will tell you that Joey died from an overdose of gamma-hydroxyic butyric acid, more commonly known as just GHB. And Dr. Touchemont will explain that when Joey swallowed those princess beads, the 1,4-butanediol on the beads metabolized to GHB. And that GHB caused Joey to go into a coma and later die of respiratory arrest. Today in court, we will show you how the actions of Happyland Toy Company on that day in May of 2009 led directly to Joey's death. How these little beads killed this little boy. How they spent a day, and it cost a life. At the conclusion of the trial, ladies and gentlemen, we will ask you find Happyland Toy Company liable for the death of Joey Davis. Thank you.
Ms. Centrella, thank you for your opening argument.
Opening
Ms.
from the
Ribel,
defense?
you'll be giving the opening statement for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
The court will hear from Ms. Ribel by way of opening argument on behalf of the defendant, Happyland Toy Company.
Before
You
I
may begin
begin,
when you're ready. Do you want to deconstruct those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel for the plaintiff, please deconstruct the demonstratives before defense counsel begins her opening argument.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you need any help with that?
That's okay, thank you.
All right.
Ms. Ribel, you may begin when you're ready.
May it please the court, members of the jury. What happened on August 8th, 2009 was a tragedy. We're not inhuman. We know we can't possibly understand Andy Davis's pain. Now, this trial will involve a lot of emotion, and we won't ask you to be numb to it. It's easy, though, to get swept up in that emotion, to forget about the facts. The law says you must not allow this to happen. The law says you must weigh the evidence and make a determination based on the facts presented in court today. The plaintiff case seems to have everything. Complicated medical theories, intimidating terms like 1,4-butanediol and gamma-hydroxybutyric acid, a corporate defendant at which to point the finger. They seem to have everything. Everything but the evidence. Today you will hear the facts, and you will see that it's impossible to determine exactly what caused Joey Davis's death. In June 2009, Happyland began selling a craft kit called Princess Beads. You will learn that by spraying the beads with water, a glue called 1,4-butanediol was activated that would allow the beads to stick together to form jewelry. 1,4-butanediol isn't dangerous if you hold it, or even if you put it in your mouth. Now, we know today that Joey swallowed 25 princess beads, but the science says this isn't fatal for a 33-pound child. But something else could be. A breathing condition. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey had a breathing condition. That's significant because today you'll learn that Joey died from breathing complications. Lung failure. Now, the plaintiff is required to present their case first today because they bear the burden of proof. They must prove that Happyland designed an unreasonably dangerous product. And they must also prove that princess beads killed Joey Davis. After the plaintiff presents their case, Happyland will present its defense and you'll hear from 3 additional witnesses. First, you'll hear from Miss Quinn Brown, the Happyland employee who designed princess beads. Miss Brown will teach us about the beads. She'll explain that Happyland made the beads bitter tasting to prevent young children from swallowing them, and reveal that the test showed this was an effective deterrent. She will also explain that Happyland used 3 types of warning labels on their product packaging to ensure that consumers were made aware of the proper and safe use of the beads. Next, you'll hear from Miss Brett Miller, Joey Davis's babysitter. Miss Miller will tell you that long before princess beads were brought into the Davis home, Joey had breathing problems. Miss Miller will tell you that Joey Davis's breathing problems could get so serious that on one occasion Joey had to be rushed to the emergency room. But even after the emergency room physician instructed that Joey see a respiratory specialist, Miss Miller will tell you that he didn't, and that his breathing condition never improved. Finally, you'll hear from Dr. Reese Gardner, the Harvard-educated medical doctor and drug researcher, who will walk us through the medical research from the experts in the field. Dr. Gardner will offer alternate causes of death and will clarify the timing of events that support the scientific conclusion. There was not enough medical testing performed by Dr. Tushman to conclusively determine a cause of death. The plaintiff case simply lacks evidence. This case needs to be determined based on the science and the facts. The evidence will show that there are too many questions and too few answers. The evidence will show that Happyland is not responsible for the death of Joey Davis. Thank you.
Ms. Reibel, thank you. Who is the first witness that the plaintiff wants to call? Ms. Weiss?
The plaintiff calls Tristan Frost.
Tristan Frost. Ms. Frost, please take the witness stand over to my left. I'll remind you that you've been sworn to tell the truth. I direct you to do so. Please keep your voice up so that everybody can hear your testimony.
Your Honor, before I begin, may I construct a demonstrative for this witness?
Is it going to be part of your first few questions?
No, will not, Your
Why
Honor.
don't we construct it when we get there? You may begin your inquiry.
Your Honor, before I begin, may I approach opposing counsel, the bench, and the witness in turn with what has been previously marked as Plaintiff's Exhibits 1 through 6.
I'm going to also keep a list. I'm up to number 5, and as you introduce each document, start by showing it to the witness and allow the witness to identify it. Then we'll move to counsel. We'll use one exhibit so that everybody has the same document. You may begin your inquiry.
Yes, Your Honor. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Of course. Hello, my name's Tristan Frost.
Now, how do you make a living, Ms. Frost?
Well, I'm a TV personality and journalist for Blitz News Network. My manager says that I'm the face for television and the brains for journalism.
What kind of journalism do you do?
I'm an undercover journalist.
Could you please tell the jury where one of your last undercover jobs was?
At Happyland Toy Company.
Now, why were you sent to Happyland Toy Company?
Well, my boss said something about there being a buyout involving Happyland Toy Company and maybe some fraud, but what I found to be really exciting was that their CEO, Blake Lexington, was rumored to be having an affair with a movie star. I went undercover to find out what was going on under the covers.
Now, did you have to apply for the job at Happyland?
Yes, I did.
So when you were applying, were you honest with Happyland?
Well, no, of course not. You see, if I was honest with them, they would know who I was and what I wanted, and I would not have a story by now.
What did going undercover at Happyland entail?
Well, let me tell you, this is not a face for radio. I went to every single extent to make sure my disguise was perfect. First, I had to get a new character and a new persona. And then I had to get a fake social security number, a fake ID, a new resume, and I was good to go.
Could you please tell the jury what you mean by good to go?
Of course, I ended up getting the job at Happyland as Blake Lexington, the CEO's secretary and personal assistant. And because I was secretary, the cuties and IT set it up so that every single email sent or received by Blake Lexington was automatically BCC'd to my computer.
Now, Ms. Frost, did you find the story you were looking for at Happyland?
Not initially, no. You see, I was looking for a hot, juicy Access Hollywood story. But tragically, the story I ended up finding was more fit for 60 Minutes.
When did you find your story?
On August 10th, 2009.
What happened on August 10th, 2009?
That was the day that a parent called Happyland Toy Company regarding the princess beads.
Did you ever identify this parent?
Yes, it was Andy Davis, parent of Joey Davis.
And what did Ms. Davis say?
She said that the toy Happyland had created killed her son.
Now, Ms. Frost, how did you react to this phone call?
Well, I immediately went back into all my archives and found every single document pertaining to the princess beads.
Let's look at these documents. Your Honor, may I approach the witness what has been previously marked as plaintiffs 5 through 11?
Yes.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may now I assemble my demonstrative for this witness?
Go ahead.
Ms. Frost, do you recognize plaintiffs 5?
Yes, I do.
What is plaintiffs 5?
It's a memo sent from David Post, the chair of board of directors at Happyland Toy Company, to Blake Lexington, the CEO.
And when was this memo sent?
It was sent on May 15th, 2009.
Your Honor, plaintiff moves plaintiffs 5 into evidence.
Please show it to Ms. Lackett.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes. Ms. Lackett, as to the admissibility of plaintiffs 5.
No objections, Your Honor.
Plaintiffs 5 in evidence without objection. You may
Your Honor,
continue.
For timing purposes, may I please show opposing counsel all of the exhibits we will be using in this
Well,
exam?
let's do them one at a time. It'll help me keep them in order much better.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Frost, would you please approach the first poster?
Of course.
Do you recognize this poster?
Yes, it's an enlargement of plaintiffs 5 with highlights.
Starting with, it is of the utmost importance, would you please read the following highlighted portions for the jury?
Of course. It reads, "It is of the utmost importance that this new toy be released on budget and with plenty of time before the 2009 winter holiday season."
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis.
Your Honor, I would object hearsay.
What about that, Ms. Weiss? Ms.
Your Honor,
Weiss, sorry.
this witness is reading from an exhibit, and although the statement is hearsay, it falls under 2 hearsay exceptions. The first, admission by a party opponent, the party opponent in this case being Happyland and all of its working agents. The second exception being records kept in the regular course of business.
The witness is reading from a document that's in evidence, so it's already in. Therefore, there is no basis on which to object, and the objection is overruled. The witness may continue her answer, or, Ms. Weiss, you may ask your next question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Frost, did you get to finish your answer?
No. It continues to read, "And it seems highly unlikely that the shareholders would be willing to tolerate another losing year without demanding major changes."
Ms. Frost, would you please now direct your attention to Plaintiff 6?
Of course.
Do you recognize Plaintiff 6?
Yes, it's an email sent from Quinn Brown to Blake Lexington.
Now, who is Quinn Brown?
Quinn Brown was the project leader for the Princess Beads.
And when was this email sent?
was sent on May 16th, 2009 at 8:22 a.m.
Your Honor, plaintiff moves plaintiff 6 into evidence.
Let's show it to Ms. Lackett.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Go ahead.
No objection, Your Honor.
Plaintiff 6 in evidence without objection. You may continue.
Ms. Frost, would you please now direct your attention to plaintiff's 3?
Of course.
I'm sorry, to plaintiff 7. Do you recognize plaintiff 7?
Yes, I do.
What is plaintiff 7?
It's an email. It's an enlargement of Plaintiff 7 with highlights.
I'm sorry, Ms. Frost, plaintiff's exhibit 7.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Do you recognize plaintiff 7?
Yes,
What is plaintiff 7?
it's a material safety data sheet.
And was this in, how did you come in possession of the material safety data sheet?
It was attached to the email sent from Aaron Swift to Blake Lexington.
When was this email sent?
Sent on May 16th, 2009 at 4:59 p.m.
Your Honor, plaintiff moves plaintiffs 7 and 8 into evidence.
What have we heard about plaintiff's 8?
Plaintiff 7 is the
I
email.
heard about, well, this witness identified plaintiff 7 as the material safety data sheet. Let's show plaintiff 7 to Ms. Lackett. Ms. Lackett,
Your Honor, I would object hearsay to this document.
what about that, Ms. Weiss?
Your Honor, this document, although it is hearsay, falls under 2 hearsay exceptions. First, admission by a party opponent, the party opponent being Happy Land Toy Company, and the second being a record kept in the regular course of business.
In whose business is that record kept?
The Happy Land Toy Company, the defendant in this case.
Ms. Lackett,
Yes, Your Honor. As to the first objection, or the first exception rather, admission by a party opponent, the material safety data sheet is not an admission by a party opponent. The material safety data sheet was produced by Wilman Chemicals, and Wilman Chemicals is not a party opponent in today's case. As to the second exception, records kept regularly in business, Happy Land, the business in question would not be Happy Land, and so the exception doesn't apply. They would have to bring forward some witness that would be able to testify that this was a record regularly kept in business, the business being Wilman Chemicals.
with regard to the argument that this document is an admission by a party opponent, for a document to be an admission, it must be something in which a party opponent manifests its belief. And here, the document alone, without the covering email that this witness has testified to, makes it impossible at this moment, and without more, for the court to find that Happy Land manifested its belief in the truth of the document. Moreover, the indications are that Happy Land is a toy company and that this is some sort of sheet regarding chemicals, which makes it appear that the document is not kept in a toy company's ordinary course of business. Therefore, at this moment and without more, the objection is sustained. Plaintiff 7 remains marked for ID, but is not yet in evidence. You may continue.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize the email that the material safety data sheet was attached to?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's an email sent from Aaron Swift to Blake Lexington, and it has information about the research on 1,4-butanediol.
And when was this email sent?
It was sent on May 16th, 2009 at 4:59 p.m.
Your Honor, plaintiff moves plaintiffs 8 into evidence.
Let's show that to Ms. Lackett.
Your Honor, I would object hearsay on the basis that they haven't established who Aaron Swift is.
The testimony of this witness is that Aaron Swift is an employee of the Happy Land Toy Company. Is there anything anything further you want to say, given that background.
I must have misheard, Your Honor. Then I have no objection.
I would also indicate that, very well, then Plaintiff's 8, the email is in evidence. Ms. Weiss, do you have another application at this time?
Thank you. Ms. Frost, would you please now direct your attention to Plaintiff's 9?
Of course.
What is Plaintiff's 9?
It's an email sent from Blake Lexington to Quinn Brown.
And when was this email sent?
It was sent on May 16th, 2009 at 5 p.m., just 1 minute after the prior email.
Your Honor, plaintiff moves Plaintiff's 9 into evidence.
Let's show it to Ms. Lackett. Ms. Lackett.
No objection, Your Honor.
Plaintiff's 9 is in evidence on the application of plaintiff's counsel. Ms. Weiss, do you have another application at this time?
No more exhibits, Your Honor.
Do you have any other applications at this time?
Yes. Ms. Frost, you just told the jury that Plaintiffs 8 and 9 were sent within a minute of each other. Let's look at them side by side. Your Honor, may I please approach the witness?
Go ahead.
Ms. Frost, what caught your eye about these two emails?
Well, as I said, these two emails were sent just 1 minute apart. And in that 1 minute it took Blake Lexington to forward this email, he managed to remove the one vital bullet point of the email.
And what bullet point was omitted?
The third bullet point, the bullet point regarding the lack of research done on the metabolic effects of 1,4-butanediol.
Ms. Frost, would you please read aloud to the jury the highlighted portions of this third bullet point?
Of course. It reads, I haven't had a chance to see if 1,4-butanediol has any known metabolic effects, because if 1,4-butanediol does metabolize into another chemical, that chemical could be dangerous.
Thank you, Ms. Frost. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Do you have any applications at this time, Ms. Weiss?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. The witness may be seated. Ms. Lackett, you may begin.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I begin, may I request permission to remove the demonstratives that
Counsel will
counsel's put
remove,
up?
counsel will take care of her own demonstratives. Let's deconstruct them.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lackett, you may inquire.
Good morning, Ms. Frost.
Good morning.
You currently work for Blitz News Network, is that true?
Yes, I do.
And you were working for Blitz News Network in July of 2008, is that true?
Yes.
But in 2008, you also applied for another job at Happy Land Toy Company, isn't that true, Ms. Frost?
Yes, I did.
But when you applied for this job, you didn't apply as Tristan Frost, did you?
No, of course not. I applied as Alex Johnson.
Right. And in order to apply as Alex Johnson, you had to use a fake driver's license, true?
Oh, yes, of course. I had to get a new social security number, license, and resume. I wore the outfit, put on the bindi, bangles, wore a sari to work every day. It was good.
You said a lot of things, so I'm going to take them one at a time. You said that you lied about a social security card, is that true?
Yes, as a standard protocol in undercover journalism.
In fact, Ms. Frost, you lied on your resume, right?
Yes, I did. I had my peers from Blitz News Network write references for me on my resume.
In fact, Ms. Frost, you had to completely misrepresent yourself in order to get that job at Happy Land, isn't that true?
Yes, as most undercover journalists do.
That's part of your job, right?
Yes, it is.
So it's part of your job to lie, is that true?
Yes, it is.
And you're a good liar, wouldn't you say?
I'm a good undercover journalist.
So you're a good liar, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
The objection's to the form of the question, and it's overruled. Please re-ask the question.
Ms. Frost, you're a good liar, aren't you?
No, I'm a good actor.
You're a good actor, right. And so the entire time you were at Happy Land, no one ever gave you any reason to believe that they suspected you, did they?
No, of course not.
And you did this not just for a day or a week or even a month.
You did this for a whole year, didn't you?
Yes, I did it for my entire time at Happyland Toy Company.
You lied to regular, everyday people, like these people sitting right here, didn't you?
I acted as Alex Johnson in order to find the truth. Yes.
Ms. Frost, that wasn't really what I asked you. I asked you if you lied to regular, everyday people during the course of your time at Happyland, and that's true, isn't it?
Well, yes, I'm an undercover journalist.
You fooled them all, didn't you, Ms. Frost?
Fooled them all?
You fooled all the employees at Happyland, wouldn't you say?
Because I was acting as Alex Johnson, yes.
Now, I want to talk about something else for a minute. I want to talk about your investigation at Happyland.
Of course.
This investigation wasn't quite as easy as lying was, right?
Excuse me?
The investigation wasn't easy, was it?
Well, no, it wasn't, but once I found the emails, it was all written for me.
Well, I'm not going to get to the emails quite just yet. I want to talk about your first 11 months at Happyland. For those 11 months, you couldn't find a story on Happyland, could you?
No story worth reporting, no.
In fact, for those first 11 months, you found Happyland to be well-run and dedicated to safety. Is that true?
Yes, I did, until I found my story.
And Happyland's well-run, safety-oriented company was causing you problems in those first 11 months. Isn't that true?
Well, problems being that I couldn't find a story.
I'm referring to the fact that your boss at B&N got angry at you, didn't he?
Excuse me?
Your boss at B&N got angry at you. Isn't that true?
He didn't get angry. He was getting irritable. He wanted a story, and with the economy the way it was, he was desperate for anything he could get.
Well, he called you in the beginning of August, didn't he?
Yes, he called me for a check-in at the beginning of every single month.
And this check-in was a little different. At the beginning of August, your boss told you that if you didn't find something spectacular on Happyland immediately, you would lose your job at B&N. Isn't that true?
That's what he said, yes.
You were polishing your resume, weren't you?
Excuse me?
You were polishing your resume after that, weren't you?
When?
After your boss called you, you were polishing your resume, weren't you?
Yes, at one point I was.
So you believed there was a possibility that you could lose your job at B&N. Isn't that true?
Well, unless I didn't find a story, yes.
And just a few days later, you found that story, didn't you?
I didn't find a story found me. These emails were under my nose the entire time. I was just looking for the wrong thing.
Well, let's take a few steps back. Before you found the emails, you listened in on a call between Ms. Davis here and Blake Lexington, the CEO of Happyland. Isn't that true?
Yes, I answered the phone and stayed on the line as she continued to talk to Blake Lexington.
You were eavesdropping, right?
Yes, I was.
And you would say that the Princess Bead story saved your job, didn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say it saved my job. I still had a job when I found the story.
But the Princess Bead story did save your job, didn't it?
It was a big break in my career, yes.
That's not quite what I asked you, Ms. Frost. I was asking if the Princess Bead story saved your job, and you believe that it did, don't you?
Yes, you could say so.
And you also believe that the story was the big break in your career, is that right?
Yes, it was.
And Ms. Frost, you plan to use this trial to make a lot of money, don't you?
Well, I'm including it in my book, Happy, Happy Toy Toy.
So you do plan to use this trial to make money, right?
I plan to add the information into my book, yes,
Well,
which
actually-
I do hope will make money.
Well, actually, you plan to use this trial to publicize that book, is that right?
Yes.
And in fact, Ms. Frost, you would agree that the more sensational your testimony is today, the more money you'll make. Is that fair to say?
Well, it's not my testimony that's sensational. It's these emails written by the employees of Happyland Toy Company.
But Ms. Frost, you would agree that the more sensational your testimony is at this trial today, the more money you'll make. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, I guess I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Lackett, thank you. Ms. Weiss, anything further for this witness?
Brief redirect, Your Honor.
Brief or not, the time is in your control, and you may inquire.
Ms. Frost, would you please explain to the jury standard practice for investigation as a journalist?
Of course. Throughout my education at Northwestern and all my previous experience, we have been instructed, and it is standard protocol, to create a fake social security number, driver's license, and resume.
Thank you, Ms. Frost. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Ms. Lackett,
Nothing further, Your Honor.
the witness is excused with the thanks of the court. Where are the exhibits that we admitted into evidence from this witness?
Your Honor, they are on counsel table.
Let's put them up here, please. Ms. Malley, who is the next witness that the plaintiff wants to call?
The plaintiff calls Dr. Chase Touchemont.
Dr. Touchemont, please take the stand. I'll remind you that you've been sworn to tell the truth, direct you to do so, and also ask that you keep your voice up good and loud so everybody can hear you. Ms. Malley, you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good morning. My name is Dr. Chase Touchemont.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a clinical toxicologist.
What is a clinical toxicologist?
It's a physician who treats or advises in poison-related cases.
By whom are you employed?
Well, I'm the director of the Midlands Department of Poison Control and a treating physician at Polk County General Hospital.
What training and education qualifies you for these positions?
I earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry as well as a medical doctorate.
Are you published in the field of toxicology?
Yes. I've been published in several peer-reviewed journals such as JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association.
How did you become involved in today's case?
I treated Joey Davis while he was in the emergency room on the day he died. And after he died, I assisted with his autopsy and determined the cause of his death.
Did you have sufficient facts and data to draw your conclusions?
Yes. I had all of Joey Davis's medical records, his medical history, the results from his toxicology screen, as well as his autopsy report. I also had the contents of his vomitus.
Did you apply reliable principles and methods to reach those conclusions?
Yes. All of the tests I performed are peer-reviewed in my field to meet the highest standard, and all of the conclusions I drew are based on the prevailing level of certainty in my field.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff would like to ask the court to qualify Dr. Chase Touchemont as an expert in toxicology and general medicine.
Ms. Melillo, on the plaintiff's application.
No objection, Your Honor, to this witness being entered as an expert in the field of toxicology.
That's all the application is right now.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so there's no objection. The plaintiff is recognized as an expert by the court on the plaintiff's application. Without objection, you may continue your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Doctor, what did you do to reach your conclusions?
I looked at three things: Joey Davis's symptoms, the results from his toxicology screen, and the contents of his vomitus.
I want to look at those one at a time. Your Honor, may I assemble a demonstrative?
Go right ahead.
Doctor, how did an analysis of Joey Davis's symptoms help you reach your conclusions?
Well, I've prepared a chart for this. May I approach my demonstrative, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Dr. Touchemont, what were Joey Davis's symptoms when he arrived at the emergency room?
Joey Davis arrived at 12:30. He was drowsy, off balance, and confused. We immediately began with all standard protocol in his treatment. We checked his vital signs, his airways, and we performed a physical exam. We also attached several monitors and an EKG. At this point, we wanted to assess his status.
How did his condition progress?
At 12:33, he went into a seizure, which was immediately followed by vomiting. We reassessed his vital signs, and we intubated him, and also placed a nasogastric tube. And at this point, we just wanted to make sure his condition wasn't deteriorating.
Did his condition deteriorate?
Unfortunately, yes. At 1 o'clock, Joey Davis went into a coma. We immediately reassessed his vital signs, and we gave him breathing treatment to check that he was receiving sufficient amounts of oxygen. However, at 1:50, his heart rate and respiration slowed, and at 2 o'clock, he went into full respiratory arrest. He wasn't breathing, so we began cardiopulmonary resuscitation. But despite all our efforts, at 2:02, he was gone.
Doctor, have you ever seen this set of symptoms before?
Yes,
When?
when I treated past cases of GHB poisoning in the emergency room.
What is GHB?
Well, it's a chemical. Its full name is gamma-hydroxybutyric acid. Like alcohol, it's a central nervous system depressant.
How well did Joey Davis's symptoms match those of a GHB poisoning?
They matched perfectly.
Would you please explain?
Joey Davis arrived at the emergency drowsy, off balance, and confused. These are symptoms of GHB poisoning. He also went into a seizure. This is a symptom of GHB poisoning. Right after he went into a seizure, he vomited. This is also a symptom of GHB poisoning. After that, he went to a coma, another symptom of GHB poisoning. At 1:50, he went into respiratory depression. This is also a symptom of GHB poisoning. He went into respiratory arrest, a symptom of GHB poisoning, and respiratory arrest causes death during GHB poisoning.
Doctor, did you find any other factors that may have affected his symptoms?
Yes, I did.
What did you find?
After obtaining Joey Davis's medical records, I discovered he had a pre-existing respiratory problem.
How would this respiratory problem have affected his condition?
Well, since GHB causes respiratory depression, the elevated levels of GHB in Joey Davis's symptom could have aggravated his pre-existing respiratory problem, causing fatal respiratory arrest at a lower dose of GHB.
Thank you. Would you please sit down? Moving on to that toxicology screen you mentioned. What were the results of Joey Davis's toxicology screen?
Joey Davis tested negative for every single chemical we tested him for, except for GHB.
How significant were the GHB levels in his system?
He had 148 milligrams per liter of GHB in his blood. That's 15 times the normal amount found in humans.
Doctor, you mentioned you analyzed the contents of his vomitus. What did you find?
I found several dozen brightly colored plastic beads.
What, if anything, did you do to analyze those beads?
Well, I first recognized them as princess beads because I had bought a set of princess beads for my own daughter. But I had to make sure they were indeed princess beads. So I obtained a set from Andrea Davis's set, and I obtained beads from my own set at home to compare the three sets. I then determined that they were all the same size and shape, and then performed a gas chromatographic mass spectrometric test, also known as a GCMS test.
What did you learn from this GCMS test?
I learned that all of the princess beads had the same chemical composition. They had 1,4-butanediol on them.
What's 1,4-butanediol?
It's an industrial chemical and also a metabolic precursor for GHB, which means that when ingested, 1,4-butanediol metabolizes into GHB.
So putting all of this together, what did you determine to be the cause of Joey Davis's death?
I determined that the 1,4-butanediol on the princess beads that Joey Davis ingested metabolized into GHB, causing him to go into fatal respiratory arrest.
Thank you. No further questions. Your Honor, would you like me to deconstruct the demonstrative?
I don't know yet, Ms. Malley. Ms. Malillo,
Yes, Your Honor, if she could.
please do. Ms. Malillo, you may inquire.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Dr. Tushman.
Good morning.
I'd like to ask about your theory in this case.
It's your theory that Joey Davis died of GHB poisoning from swallowing princess beads. Is that true?
Excuse me, Miss Melillo, I didn't make any theories in this case.
It's your conclusion that Joey Davis died of GHB poisoning from swallowing princess beads?
Yes,
Well, you've read the autopsy report in this case. Is that true?
I did.
And in the autopsy report, Dr. Bamier never concluded that Joey died of GHB poisoning, did he?
No, however, I looked at several other factors to determine that.
Doctor, I'm not asking you what you considered, but rather what the autopsy report says. And the autopsy report doesn't conclude that Joey Davis died of GHB poisoning, correct?
That's correct.
And that's because that wasn't the conclusive cause of death, right?
No, respiratory arrest was.
Right. Now, you would agree that your theory, or your conclusion, rather, has shortcomings. Is that true?
It has a few.
One of those shortcomings is that the amount of GHB in Joey Davis's blood isn't normally enough to cause death. Is that correct?
Not normally, though in the case of Joey Davis, it did cause his death.
Well, you're familiar with an article written by Schwartzreich and Thompson. Is that true?
Yes,
It's the preeminent source on GHB in the field, correct?
that's correct.
You agree with all the methods used in the article, right?
Yes.
And all the conclusions that they came to. Is that true?
Yes, they are the prevailing level of certainty in my field.
Now, in that article, it says that the fatal dose of GHB in blood concentration is 300 milligrams per liter. Is that true?
Yes, based on data extrapolated from adult emergency room cases of GHB poisoning.
And extrapolation is a method that you agree with, correct?
Yes,
Now, Joey Davis had a blood concentration level of 148 milligrams per liter. Is that true?
yes, based on the one toxicology screen we conducted.
And that's less than half the fatal blood concentration level from the preeminent source in your field. Is that true?
Yes, again, based on data extrapolated from adult cases in the emergency room.
Right, Dr. Touchemont. Now, another one of the shortcomings is that the amount of GHB in grams was also not usually enough to cause death. Is that true?
That is correct.
According to that same article by Schwartzreich and Thompson, the fatal dose for a child the size of Joey Davis is 2.25 grams of 1,4-butanediol. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Doctor, how many princess beads would Joey Davis have had to have swallowed to have 2.25 grams of GHB?
Well, since there were 50 milligrams of 1,4-butanediol on each princess bead, he would have had to have swallowed 45 beads.
Doctor, Joey Davis only swallowed 25 princess beads. Is that true?
Based on the contents of his vomitus, yes.
But according to the preeminent source on GHB, Joey Davis would have had to have swallowed and completely absorbed all 1,4-butanediol on 45 princess beads to have a fatal dose. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, doctor, on direct examination, you said you examined the stomach contents of Joey Davis. Is that true?
Yes, his vomitus.
And that you found princess beads in them. Is that right?
Yes, I found 25 princess beads.
Doctor, there were other non-food items in Joey Davis's vomitus. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You didn't test those other non-food items, did you?
No, I did not.
In fact, the only objects that you tested in Joey Davis's stomach contents were the princess beads. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you also said that you tested the princess beads at the Joey Davis household. Is that right?
Yes.
You didn't test any other products at the Davis household, did you?
No, there was no need to.
The only product you tested was the princess beads. Is that right?
Yes, Joey Davis's toxicology screen showed that he tested negative for every single chemical except for GHB.
Doctor, GHB is commonly used in household items. Is that true?
Yes,
Plastics, right?
that's correct.
GHB doesn't only have to come from 1,4-butanediol, correct?
No, it has other metabolic precursors. That's correct.
Now, doctor, I'd like to ask you about the test you performed on the princess beads you found in Joey Davis's vomit and the other 2 sets of princess beads.
Of course.
You said something on direct examination, and I found it very interesting, so I wrote it down. You said that they had the same chemical composition. They all had 1,4-butanediol. Is that right?
Yes, it's a metabolic precursor for GHB.
Now, doctor, just to clarify, 1,4-butanediol and GHB have different chemical compositions. Is that true?
That's correct.
So, doctor, when there was 1,4-butanediol found on the princess beads in Joey Davis's vomit, that means that not all of the 1,4-butanediol had come off in Joey Davis's system. Is that true?
That's correct. A GCMS test can detect very minuscule amounts of a chemical.
But we don't know how much 1,4-butanediol was still left on those princess beads, do we?
No, we don't.
So that means that at least not all of the 1,4-butanediol on the princess beads metabolized into GHB in Joey Davis's system. Is that correct?
Of course not. Or it's correct, though 99% of 1,4-butanediol does metabolize into GHB.
But again, doctor, we don't know how much 1,4-butanediol was left on the beads, only that there was still 1,4-butanediol on the princess beads found in Joey Davis's system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Dr. Touchemont. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Ms. Melillo, thank you. Ms. Malley, anything further for this witness?
May I proceed with redirect?
You may.
Dr. Touchemont, what would explain why a smaller dose of GHB would prove fatal for Joey Davis?
Well, it is scientific fact that GHB causes respiratory problems. Now, Joey Davis's elevated levels of GHB, in combination with his respiratory issues, could have caused him to go into a fatal respiratory arrest at a lower dose of GHB.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Malley, thank you. Ms. Melillo.
Nothing further, Your
The
Honor.
witness is excused with the thanks of the court. Ms. Centrella, who is the next witness that the plaintiff wants to call?
Plaintiff calls Andy Davis.
Ms. Davis, please take the witness stand. I'll remind you, you've been sworn to tell the truth, and I direct you to do so. Please keep your voice up good and loud so everybody can hear. You may be seated. Counselor, you may inquire.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Davis.
Do you have a family, Miss Davis?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. I was married to my husband Lee right out of high school, and we had 2 children together, Hillary, who's now 13, and Joey, who would have been 6.
Your Honor, at this time, may I construct Plaintiff's Exhibit
Go ahead.
10? Miss Davis, I would like you to take a look at this picture right there. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's a picture of my son Joey, just about a week before he passed away. He's with his pet tortoise. His name was Irving.
At this time, plaintiff moves to admit Exhibit 10, a picture of Joey Davis, into evidence.
Ms. Reibel,
No objection, Your Honor.
there being no objection, plaintiff's 10 is in evidence.
Miss Davis, can you tell us a little bit about Joey?
Sure. He was always so energetic. He was always running around, playing, having fun.
Did you notice if Joey had any health problems at all?
Sometimes he would just have a little bit of trouble catching his breath.
Now, Miss Davis, I need to ask you about August 8th, 2009. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
What happened on the morning of that day?
It started out just like any other day. I got up and I got Joey and Hillary out of bed. I made some soup because Joey had the sniffles. And I was preparing for a job interview that I had.
At what time did you leave for your job interview?
I left at about 11,
At what time did you arrive?
about 11:30.
Did anything unusual happen at this job interview?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, about halfway through the interview, I looked down at my phone, and I saw that I had 5 missed calls and a voicemail from our babysitter, Brett Miller.
Did you listen to this voicemail?
Yes.
What did it say?
The voicemail, Brett said that Joey was sick and that they were at the hospital.
So what did you do next?
I went to the hospital as fast as I could.
What did you find when you arrived at the hospital?
It was chaos. There were doctors talking at me, nurses asking me questions. My daughter Hillary was crying. I didn't know what was going on.
What happened to you after that?
One of the doctors came. He asked me if I wanted to see Joey.
So did you go see Joey?
Yes.
What did you find when you saw Joey?
He was lying in. He was sitting in the. He was just laying there in the hospital bed. There were tubes in his nose and in his mouth. His eyes were closed. He just looked so small.
So what did you do?
Just sat there. I held his hand. I said, "Joey, wake up. Please wake up."
Did Joey wake up, Miss Davis?
No.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Ms. Centrella, thank you. Ms. Rybel.
Yes, Your Honor. Just in case. May I proceed?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis, before I begin, I'd just like to give you my condolences for your loss. I know this can be difficult for you, so if you need a moment at any point, just let me know.
Thank you, I will.
Now, I have some more questions about the princess beads that you bought for your daughter Hillary. Hillary loved playing with her princess beads, didn't she?
Yes.
But she would leave her beads all over the house. Isn't that true?
That's right. They were in her room, by the couch, on the couch.
On the coffee table, too, right?
That's correct.
You were concerned when they were on the coffee table, weren't you?
I asked her to leave them on the coffee table just to keep them in one place, and she did.
But it concerned you that they were on the coffee table because you knew that your son Joey could reach them, right?
That's right. I didn't want him to choke on anything.
And you saw the princess beads on the coffee table the morning your son passed away, didn't you?
Yes, they were on the coffee table because that's where Hillary left them.
And you had seen Joey put these princess beads in his mouth before, hadn't you?
I made sure that he didn't put them in his mouth.
Well, you only ever used verbal warnings with your 2-year-old son. Isn't that right?
That's right. I told him, no, those are big kid toys. Don't put those in your mouth. You shouldn't be playing with those.
Mrs. Davis, you never took the princess beads away from your son, did you?
No, I just was vigilant and I made sure he didn't put them in his mouth.
Well, I'd like to talk to you about some other toys that Joey liked to put in his mouth. Joey had some building blocks, right?
Yes, he did.
But he would put these in his mouth, wouldn't he?
That's right. He was teething.
But it was more than just that he was teething. You recognize that young children just like to put things in their mouth, don't they?
That's right. I did some research on it when Hillary was young.
But whenever you would see Joey put building blocks in his mouth, you would take them away, wouldn't you?
Right. I didn't want him to choke on anything.
Because you believed, exactly, that they were choking hazards, true?
Right.
Joey also put another item in his mouth, Mardi Gras beads, right?
They were my husband Lee's. That's right.
And when you saw Joey put Mardi Gras beads in his mouth, you took those away too, didn't you?
Yes.
Because you believed that these were choking hazards. Isn't that correct?
Right.
So I'd like to talk to you about the warning labels on the Princess Beads box. You read them, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you saw that Princess Beads were not for children ages 0 to 3, right?
Right. That's why I made sure Joey didn't put them in his mouth.
Well, you also saw that it said choking hazard, true?
Right.
You also saw that the box said may be toxic if swallowed. Isn't that correct?
That's right.
But you still allowed your son to put princess beads in his mouth, didn't you?
Oh, I made sure that he didn't put them in his mouth.
Well, like you already said, you never took them away, did you?
No, I just made sure by telling him not to play with them.
You would actually say that you ignored the warning label, didn't you?
Which warning label?
You ignored the may be toxic if swallowed. Isn't that correct?
That's right. It's on everything now.
I'd like to talk to you about some of Joey's breathing problems. Joey's breathing problems started at a very young age, didn't they?
About at his 1-year birthday?
And they would involve him gasping for air, right?
Coughing, yes.
Sometimes he would have these breathing attacks for up to 10 minutes, true?
They lasted anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes.
But regardless of the time, they concerned you, didn't they?
Yes.
So much so that you rushed Joey to the emergency room in October of 2008. Isn't that right?
I did take Joey to the emergency room.
And you spoke with the doctor about Joey's symptoms. Isn't that correct?
I did speak with the doctor.
The doctor told you that Joey had symptoms consistent with asthma. Isn't that correct?
That's right.
The doctor also told you that Joey's condition was not yet life-threatening, true?
He said it was not immediately life-threatening.
But that concerned you, didn't it?
Well, of course.
The doctor advised that you see a respiratory specialist. Isn't that true?
That's what the doctor told me. That's right.
Advised that you see a respiratory specialist if Joey's breathing problems continued, right?
Right.
Joey's breathing problems did continue, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
But you never took Joey to see that respiratory specialist, did you?
Unfortunately, I had just lost my job and I didn't have any insurance, so I couldn't.
I know money was tight for you, but that means that you never got Joey's condition diagnosed. Isn't that true?
That's right.
Mrs. Davis, this trip to the emergency room and Joey's breathing problems, these all happened before you bought princess beads. Isn't that true?
That's right.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Ms. Rybel, thank you. Ms. Centrella, anything further for this witness?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Davis, you may rejoin your attorneys at counsel's table. Does the plaintiff rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
In that event, the court is going to take a 5-minute recess. Court's in recess.